All right. So, you guys are the real deal when it comes to self-improvement, always sending us the most interesting stuff. And this one is no exception.
Oh, yeah.
This YouTube video, NoFap Benefits Timeline, From Ordinary to Extraordinary in 90 Days. We're
Oh,
diving right in.
okay.
And we're going to unpack this whole idea of giving up pornography and masturbation,
Yeah.
which, let's be honest, it's a topic that people are talking about.
The big one.
It's a big one, and it's not as simple as just saying, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to cut this out.
Right.
There are a lot of layers to it. So what are your first impressions of this whole NoFap journey that this video lays out?
Well, I think it's interesting how they decided to use a personal story kind of as the framework for this because, it's a sensitive topic.
Right.
So we're hearing from this 23-year-old who says that he's been struggling with pornography for 12 years.
Oh,
And he's detailing like his personal experience over these 90 days.
okay.
So it's like his ups and downs, his whole journey throughout this process.
And right off the bat, he's talking about these almost immediate benefits.
Yeah.
Like increased energy, better focus, even a mood boost.
Yeah.
And it's like all within the first week.
Right.
And you can see how that would be really appealing to somebody, especially if you're feeling kind of stuck or burned out. It's like, oh,
Totally. Yeah, that like quick reward system.
yes.
I mean, our brains are wired for that.
Totally.
Like think about that feeling when you finally clean up your desk after like weeks of it being a mess.
Oh my gosh, the best.
It's like that same kind of like positive reinforcement going on.
Okay. But then he throws out this number, and I was like, whoa, hold on a second.
Okay.
A 145.7% increase in testosterone after just 7 days.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, that's a bold claim. What's the reality check on that?
it's a big jump.
It's a huge jump in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's important to understand, that claim is based on one study.
Okay.
And even within that study, testosterone levels fluctuate
Right.
naturally throughout the day anyway. It's affected by all kinds of things, not just, sexual activity.
Right.
And so while there is some research that suggests there might be a link
Gotcha.
between, abstaining from pornography and testosterone levels,
Okay.
that big of a jump in that short of a time is highly unlikely.
Yeah.
It's important to kind of separate, the hype from the actual science.
It's like that saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly.
So let's move on to week 2.
Okay.
He kind of shifts gears a little bit and starts talking about social confidence,
Okay.
specifically interactions with women.
Okay.
And he even shares this anecdote about having like this really surprisingly good interaction at a coffee shop after, a week of doing this.
Right.
Is there any scientific basis for this connection between pornography use and social anxiety?
Yeah, there's actually a growing body of research that's starting to explore that.
Okay.
And some studies have shown correlation between, frequent pornography use and higher levels of social anxiety. But
There's a but.
there's a big but.
Okay.
And that is correlation does not equal causation.
Right.
Just because two things happen at the same time doesn't necessarily mean one is causing the other.
It's not as easy as saying pornography causes anxiety or vice versa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of different factors at play.
Right. It's complex.
It is complex.
You've got individual experiences, psychological factors, societal influences.
Elderly.
All of those things are going to play a role.
Absolutely. And what we do know is that if you're struggling with self-image
Right.
or you're struggling with anxiety, that's going to have a huge impact on how you interact with other people.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's something that a lot of people deal with regardless of, their relationship with pornography.
And that's what makes that coffee shop anecdote so relatable.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all been there where you want to connect with somebody, but you're kind of held back by your own insecurities.
Right.
But then he jumps to week 3. And suddenly it's all about improvements in relationships.
Okay.
He's got funnier jokes, more engaging stories. It's like he's unlocked some secret charisma code.
Right.
I have to ask, can abstaining from porn really have that kind of ripple effect on your entire life?
I mean, it's a question worth asking, right? But the video presents this very linear story.
Okay.
Like, this happened, and then this happened, and that led to this.
Right.
And that's not always how it works in the real world.
No, it's not. Yeah.
And messy.
Yeah, it's messy and complex.
Yeah.
And so while I think there could be a connection,
Okay.
if you're feeling more confident, maybe you are having more positive interactions.
Sure.
To say that all of those changes are solely because you gave up pornography
Right.
might be a little bit of an oversimplification.
So we're talking maybe a mix of correlation, causation,
Right.
placebo effect.
Totally.
It's all playing a role.
Humans are complicated.
We are messy.
We are messy, and we like to look for simple solutions
Right.
to very complex issues. Of course, who doesn't?
Yeah.
The quick fix.
Exactly. And so it's easy to kind of get caught up in these narratives that promise, like, quick fixes and dramatic transformations. But the reality is usually a little bit more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
And so it's important to kind of approach those kinds of stories with a critical eye.
Absolutely.
And kind of think about it in the context of your own life and your own experiences.
I love that.
Because what works for one person,
Isn't going to work for everybody.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like anything, like when you decide to make a change in your life.
Right.
Whether that's giving up a habit or starting a new routine, like you said, that initial motivation.
Yeah.
You get that burst of energy a lot of times that's driven by kind of like the novelty of it.
Of course, it's new and exciting.
Exactly. It's exciting.
Yeah.
But like anything new, that excitement, it's not always going to last forever.
No, it fades.
It fades. And that's kind of what they're getting at in this video when they talk about this idea of the flat line.
Okay.
So it's described as this period around month 2.
Okay.
Where those initial benefits that you felt, they kind of plateau.
Okay.
Maybe they even dip a little bit.
Okay.
Cravings might start to come back.
So you're kind of over the hump of like the initial excitement.
Exactly.
And now you're getting into like the nitty gritty.
And this is totally normal, by the way.
Okay.
This is something that we see across all sorts of different behavioral changes.
It's not a failure. It's part of the process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's part of the process.
Because you're right. That initial excitement is always going to fade. And then it becomes about, building sustainable habits for the long term.
That's where the real work begins, right?
Right.
It's building those habits. It's understanding your triggers.
Yep.
It's about like finding healthy coping mechanisms. And the video does touch on this a little bit.
Okay.
They talk about things like exercise,
Okay.
good nutrition, social support.
Which are all good things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of those things are crucial for well-being in general.
Of course.
Regardless of whether or not you're specifically trying to, change your relationship with pornography or anything else.
It's a good reminder that there's no quick fix.
No magic bullet.
Right.
It's really about taking a holistic approach.
And speaking of the bigger picture,
Okay.
things take kind of a turn as we get into month 3.
Oh, yeah.
This is where the video culminates in this grand finale of, all these personal achievements.
Okay.
The date with the crush happens.
Right.
Intimate encounters, a country tour.
Wow.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to unpack.
It's a lot. And it definitely makes you wonder about the connection between all of these things.
Right. I mean, it's a very dramatic arc to this story.
It is.
And so it's easy to see how someone watching this might draw a straight line
Right.
from A to B.
Like, if I just do this, then all these great things will happen.
Exactly. And that's where we have to kind of like pump the brakes a little bit and say, okay, this is one person's experience.
This is not a guarantee.
This is not a guarantee. This is one anecdote.
And we all know life is rarely that simple.
Rarely that linear.
Or predictable.
And so to attribute like, this string of personal successes
Right.
solely to giving up pornography.
Like, that's the only reason why your life is better.
It's just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
Right. It oversimplifies things a bit.
It does.
You can't just say, oh, well, if you do this, then everything in your life is going to be perfect.
If only it were that easy.
Right.
But it's just not.
No, it's not.
And I think while we're on this topic of like, nuanced narratives,
Okay.
I think it's worth spending some time unpacking this idea of a NoFap lifestyle.
Okay.
Because that's where the conversation transitions from this 90-day challenge.
Into a more permanent thing.
Right. Like this is a life choice.
Yeah. And that's a bigger conversation.
It is a much bigger conversation.
So what are some of the things that someone should be thinking about if they're considering making that kind of a change?
I think the most important thing is self-awareness.
Okay.
You have to really understand your motivations. Like, why are you doing this?
Why is this something that you think would be beneficial for you?
Because if it's coming from this place of genuine self-improvement
Okay.
and a desire to, like, better yourself, like, okay, great.
But if it's coming from a place of like, I should be doing this, or
Right, exactly.
society's telling me I should be
Well,
this.
or, you're feeling pressured into it.
Yeah.
That's different.
That's a whole different thing.
It's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
So really understanding your why
Your why.
is so important.
I like that.
And I think it's also really important to have realistic expectations.
Yeah.
Some people might find that abstaining from pornography and masturbation really aligns with their values and their goals.
Right.
But it's not a magic solution to everything.
It's not going to fix all your problems.
It's not going to fix all your problems. It's not going to magically make you
a new person,
or suddenly give you, like, the perfect life. Yeah.
Oh.
You know, you're not going to suddenly have, like, perfect relationships and $1 million.
Right, if only.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that easy.
It's not a guarantee.
It would be nice.
It would be nice.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, life is a little bit more complicated than that.
It always is.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into NoFap,
Yeah.
what would you say is the one key takeaway you want our listener to walk away with?
You know, I think it's really about approaching this topic, and really any topic related to self-improvement, with a critical mind.
Okay.
Like, don't just take everything you see at face value.
Right.
Do your own research. Talk to people you trust.
Okay.
And most importantly, listen to your gut.
Trust yourself.
Trust yourself.
I love that. So be informed, be discerning, and trust yourself.
Exactly.
And for you, our amazing listeners, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
What resonated with you today? What sparked your curiosity?
What are your thoughts?
Hit us up on social media. Let's keep this conversation going, because that's what this is all about.
Exactly.
It's about exploring these topics together, having these conversations, and hopefully learning something along the way.
Excellent.
So until next time, keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
See you next time.